Greetings, everybody. Good evening, and welcome to another exciting episode of Caribbean Classroom. Tonight's program is one of interest and one that we hope will be of entertainment as well. And we hope that you're going to learn something from this program. Tonight, I have the same guests, not the same guest, but the same host. Dr. Kerri-Ann Smith is our host, and she's going to lead the conversation as we look for some solutions as it relates to gun violence in our community. Standing by, we have Sean Pryor, who started an organization, and he'll tell us about that, called Guns Down. And we also have Brother Joshua Davis, who also created another group called Brotherhood and Sisterhood. Along with those two young men, we have a beautiful young lady in the middle. Her name is Terryl, Ebony, and she's here tonight with these two young men and getting into this conversation. There are some things that you're going to see in this program tonight. We have a few little breaks in between that we hope we're going to bring you some smiles on your faces as well. I have a young lady who's going to come in and talk to you slightly about a big event that she has coming up. One of the icons, I'm going to give you a little hint. One of the icons in reggae is going to be celebrated in Brooklyn, and they're also going to have a German performer. The lady's coming up later on, and she's going to tell us all about it. Without further ado, I'd like to bring you on to our host for the evening. Her name is Dr. Kerri-Ann Smith. Dr. Smith, take it from me.
Welcome to Caribbean Classroom. According to the Black Youth Project, guns are leading black men. In 2008 and 2009, gun homicide was the leading cause of death among black teens. Young black men die from gun violence at a rate of 2.5 times higher than Latino males and 8 times higher than white males. For the past 3 months, we've been discussing the issues surrounding violence and the problems associated with guns and violence in our communities. Now that we've discussed the problems, and we know that there are many, we are moving towards finding solutions to the problem. Thus, tonight we have as our guest Ms. Terryl Ebony, who is the author of Losing Love, Having Faith, and Finding Hope. We'll talk about hope tonight. She's a parent coach and founder of the Misunderstood Youth Development Center. Welcome, Terryl. Mr. Sean Pryor, who is the founder of the Guns Down Project, and he's the author of Ills of the Game, Part 1 and 2. And Mr. Joshua Davis, who's the founder of Brotherhood and Sisterhood. Welcome, everybody.
Thank you for having us.
Well, thanks for coming all the way from Brooklyn and also from Queens. Brooklyn gets lost when they come here. Anyway, first we'd like to start talking. Let's talk about, first of all, the struggles that we've experienced growing up in certain communities. We have two young men here who Sean's story's pretty incredible, and we'll hear more about it. But let's talk about what it's like to grow up as a black man and to raise, Terryl has a son, to raise black men in our communities today. What was it like for you, Joshua?
Well, when I reflect on the question, I think about waking up every morning and going to school.
Where'd you grow up?
I grew up in Crown Heights. I lived with my father. And as you know, as I get up, brush my teeth, wash up, get dressed, and I walk out the door, it's like you have to walk past that community to get to the school, because I didn't go to school in my community. I went to school in East Flatbush, which is not necessarily far off, but is a little distance away, and I would have to go past the constituents that I grew up with, and then go to school and then deal with that social dynamic. And you know, you have NYPD stopping and frisking you every chance they could get.
So you were stopped as a child?
Yeah.
And going
I was stopped and frisked using my school Metro card because they thought I was older.
So, bad genes or what?
I'm sorry.
I'm kidding.
But the most important thing that I remember growing up is the circles of friends that I have. You know, I have the friends that didn't progress with me; they stayed stagnant, and the friends that I went to school with and that are in college the same as me, and that trying to come back to the community to be a positive participant in the community. So there's differences in the social dynamics that I associate with on a day-to-day basis.
Sean, well, let me talk to Terryl first, and then we'll get to Sean. I promise you guys are going to love his story. So tell me what it was like to raise a black man here in New York City.
It was challenging, to say the least, but thank God I had a pretty good support team. But my son, not having his father around as often as he would have liked, he was very angry. He was always trying to fit in. There was a lot of times when he would come home from school and he would say, you know, the kids are doing this or the kids have that. You know, he wanted to do the things that they were doing, and that was always a challenge, trying to teach him to have his own identity and be his own self and not necessarily follow the Joneses, or you have to have what the Joneses have. So I know that the peer pressure was very, very tough for him. There was a lot of times, I mean, just even in junior high school, talking about girls and, you know, having those kind of relationships, and he's not doing the things that they're doing at the same pace or at the same time that they're doing it. So he was like the oddball out. So he's always trying to do things, and I saw him trying to fit in. So if he wasn't doing those things, he might, you know, embellish or be, you know, over dramatic about certain things just to get some attention, because he wasn't getting the attention in that way. So he was doing something to get attention in some way. So that was also, you know, a very big struggle. Then when he got into high school, then you had, you know, gangs, and, you know, he was going to school in Manhattan. So there was a lot of different cultures that he had to get used to, and, you know, just different things. And I know that it was a struggle for him, but just keeping him busy, keeping him involved in different activities. I got him in front of as many positive male role models that I could find, just to talk to him, just to try to keep him on the straight and narrow, and just staying on top of him, staying on top of his schoolwork. And, you know, by the grace of God, he got through. High school graduate.
Nice. Now, Sean. Sean, tell us your story. Tell us how you navigated the spaces in which you existed as a child, and now as a man, how those have worked out for your life, or shaped your life.
I was born and raised in Brooklyn, Crown Heights, and I was the only child. You know, I was raised by a single mother, and I felt like that song Tupac, "They Got Me Trapped, Can't Even Walk the City Streets." And that's how it was for me and most of my peers, you know. Police, we used to get harassed by police. Police used to run up to us and put their guns, draw out their guns, put their guns to the back of our heads, have us lay on the floor.
In Crown Heights?
In Crown Heights. It was rough. It was, stop and frisk was normal back then. And I actually started to resent the police officers for their behavior, you know. And I didn't go to school in my local neighborhood. I went to another school, Sheepshead Bay High School. So I was able to see the difference between how white people live and black people live, you know. And
that's when Sheepshead Bay was white.
That's when Sheepshead Bay was white, back in Tawana Browning days. You know, and it was bad, you know. You know, so growing up, of course, you search for your identity, being the only child. You search for that male figure, and the guy actually took me under his wing like a little brother, and he exposed me to a lot of the street elements. And that was it. My eye was open to the streets, but I looked at it as another way. Actually, while playing at the daycare, I was actually exposed to the gangs and all that stuff at an early age.
In daycare?
At daycare, yes. I was like 7 years old, and while the children used to play, I used to look at the older guys snatch chains and ride up on the bikes.
Wow.
Yes. You know, right outside. You just look right outside, you can see all the action taking place.
Interesting.
You know, and that kind of exposed me to the streets. You know, and I saw the attention that two individuals were getting from the older peers and their peers and everybody else. And I was like, when I get old, I want to be less like these guys, you know? And I really wasn't into the activities of the other kids at that age. And those thoughts actually begin to plant seeds within my subconscious mind And I guess when I got older, I just started experiencing the same type of behavior.
So when you say you experience the same kind of behavior, what are some of those behaviors that you started? Did you start experiencing them? Did you start practicing them? Were they around you too much?
It was around me. It was around me. Actually, you know, I was exposed to guns and drugs from an older peer. The guy that took me, like his little younger brother. And
so role models.
Role models, yes, definitely role models. You know,
yeah.
And that, you know, it was another dynamics. You know, my peers, my age, wasn't into most of those activities, and I picked it up from the older guys. You know, 5, 6 years older than me.
Okay.
And you know, I was just a wild young man, just didn't know how to find myself.
Yeah.
You know, and I experienced a lot.
And we'll get to the a lot in a second, but let's talk about how easy it is. So Sean's experience kind of translates into the conversation we had last month when we talked about how easy it is for young men to fall into the trap. I said the statistics at the beginning that, you know, they're 8 times higher. They're dying at 8 times higher than white you know, young men are, white teens are, black men that is. And so how easy is it for our children, black children, to get caught up in the life?
Well, one is a lack of resources in the black community. It's easier for you to stray of not going to school because you don't fit in or because you don't have the nicest clothes on. It's easier to stay with those guys that are not really being productive because you lack that father figure in the household.
So we're saying there's a common theme here that absentee fathers is an issue that can cause. Okay.
Yes, it's definitely an issue because when you become a young man, and you know, I'm only 20. I may look older, but I'm only 20, and it comes, well, the friends that I have, when they're missing their father, they are searching for who they are. So they're picking up from individuals, and that can necessarily be a bad role model.
Mm-hmm.
So in that sense, you get kind of turned away off the right path, and you get onto the negative path, and you start to get these exposures that you don't really know what to do, and you think you're doing the right thing when you're really not.
Mm-hmm. How easy is it? Well, you're the mother, so you can't tell me how easy it is, but how hard was it to keep your son away from bad influences?
It's very difficult because you're not with them 24/7. So when they're at school, you don't know what they're doing. You don't know who their friends are. You don't know what they're exposed to. The main thing that I did was stay involved. I made it my business to continue going up to the school, even at high school level. Mm-hmm. I didn't stop going, you know, and I tried to continuously talk to him about positive role models versus negative. And I watched a lot of shows with them, even the negative ones I watched with them, so this way I can have that conversation with him so that he could see the difference, opposed to just letting them watch it and drawing their own conclusions. And I think that that's a lot, when we talk about solutions, I think that that is one of the biggest solutions that we can have, is that from a very young age, that communication between parent and child has to be there. Even if it's just this, even if it is a single parent, that parent has to constantly talk, constantly, I mean, it's a struggle, constantly talk, constantly be there, be present, know what's going on in your child's life, ask those hard, tough questions. What are you doing? Who are your friends? What did you do after school? You know, what do you and your friends talk about? Not just, you know, who are your friends, what's their names, but get into the conversations that they have. And if something doesn't seem right, ask further questions. So what did you say when he said that? You know?
Right.
Or how did you feel about them when they said that, or when they were doing that, you know? Because I remember there were times, oh, so-and-so smokes, but I don't smoke. Right. Why don't you smoke? Because I know that it's bad. You already taught me that, you know, my lungs will be black and, you know, I can get lung cancer. So it's a matter of putting the education in front of them at a very young age and following through with it as they get older, and they'll, by the grace of God, you got to keep your fingers crossed that they'll stay on that right track, because you have given them the tools and they know the difference between right and wrong.
Well, Sean, you said that at daycare, it was that easy. It was from that age, at daycare, that you were able to see those bad influences. And so those seeds are planted early, you said. And so tell me about the tree that grew from those seeds. What happened?
Well, that tree actually